Goddesses have instilled awe and inspiration in humankind for thousands of years. There is evidence of goddess worship in Europe, the Middle East, and Africa. Early goddess worship focused on fertility and creation, such as the Upper Paleolithic Venus figurines. The oldest goddess in written accounts is Inanna. She was worshipped in Sumer during the Uruk period, 4100 to 2900 BCE. Inanna evolved into Ishtar by 2500 BCE and was featured in the epic tale of Gilgamesh, the world's oldest story. Inanna was associated with both love and war and fertility. Throughout history, goddesses have provided self-empowerment, connection to nature, and healing through the divine feminine. Today we explore this ancient and powerful connection and how to begin walking with the goddess. Hello everyone, and welcome back to Tarot and Torch. My name is Amber. I am a tarot reader and Reiki practitioner and mystic, and on this channel we talk about all spiritual topics that are intriguing and provide empowerment and self-growth. I have been asked to explain how to work with goddess energy, as I have been on this path for a very long time and have been working with different goddesses. This is a beautiful combination of nurturing, self-empowerment, and self-discovery. It can be very rewarding and challenging at times to work with goddess energy. So I will speak about different ways in which we can understand goddess energy, why we should work with it, and some approaches to strengthen this practice. So firstly, why should we work with goddess energy? There are many reasons that we work with goddess energy, one of them being self-empowerment. Goddesses, through their stories, through their folklore, through their very energy, provide to us something very deep and primal. This is a very empowering archetype of the feminine, the sacred feminine, the divine feminine, overcoming things that women experience in day-to-day life, and providing something, a source of inspiration, creativity, and strength to women who are going through obstacles. So for instance, when we look at examples like Lilith, we see this incredibly powerful female figure who questions the authority of God and her husband, and decides to partake in a more solitary journey of discovery and rebirth and empowerment by breaking away from what is in essence the societal norms of the time. And then there are other goddesses like Isis, who was very nurturing, very loving, very compassionate, and also giving very much this empowerment to women in the times by doing things such as healing and caretaking, but then also challenging, again, this idea of male authority through Ra, who was the supreme god at this point in time, the sun god, and essentially tricking him and taking his power to give it to her son Horus. So different archetypes of these goddesses and their stories can give us courage and strength through difficult times. And also help us with healing. So, for instance, again, using Isis, as she had gone through a very difficult loss with her husband, Osiris. And when her husband had been brutally murdered, instead of giving up and, just moving on, she decided to change this situation as best she could, salvage what she could by piecing his body back together. And though this did not result in his reemergence as her husband by her side as she knew it, it was still a rebirth that happened here as he then became ruler of the underworld. And so these different examples of strength, of fortitude, of resilience can give women something to turn to in their own dark times, an example of a beacon of light that they can use to help them through the most difficult circumstances of their mortal world. And this is something that has been true throughout time, that women have turned to these archetypes to provide them with this strength and healing. Also, spiritual growth, because through this journey of understanding different goddesses, we go through this journey with them. We ourselves go into the underworld with Hecate. We go to these new heights with Lilith. We explore the realms of Egypt with Isis. And these are different aspects of ourselves that we can learn about, that we can do shadow work on and challenge the way that we perceive things to be, as well as reach new connection to the divine. So there's a lot of spiritual empowerment that comes with connecting to the goddesses. Each one provides us with a different aspect of this journey, and healing and growth and empowerment. Also, many people decide to work with goddesses to connect with ancestors. So if you know, for instance, that you have ancestors in Egypt or Africa, or maybe in Norway, you can look up these different lands, their particular deities, and work with deities that are associated with your ancestors. And this not only empowers your ancestor practice as it is, but of course also gives you that extra bond to a particular deity. And lastly, but certainly not least, working with goddesses connects us to the earth and the cycles of the moon, cycles of the human body, as the goddess is, of course, representative of the moon phases and the menstrual cycle, the birth cycle, and the seasons. So there is a lot of physical, tangible kind of energy that you connect to when you work with goddess energy, and it also helps to regulate your emotions. It can even help if you are focusing on trying to increase fertility and things like that. Through the practice of understanding goddess, we understand our bodies. And of course, anyone can work with goddesses, whether they are male or female, or any kind of beliefs that they have. Everyone is welcome to work with goddess energy, as long as this particular goddess is one that calls to you and that you are interested in. So now we get to who shouldn't work with goddesses. And there are some instances where working with goddess energy may not be suitable for certain people. People who don't want to grow spiritually should not work with goddess energy. And this is because Again, each goddess takes you on a spiritual journey, and this is sometimes not even something people have thought of or anticipated before working with goddesses, that this would be what happens. But as you hold the hand of a goddess, she takes you to a different story, a different land, a different time, and a different vibration. So you will see change in your life happening, and this is part of the different layers of spiritual awakening that we go through as we learn, as we study and experience spiritual energy. So those who feel that they're already on some kind of a shaky ground where they're not doing well in their physical body, they're not doing well emotionally or mentally, may need to do a lot more inner work on themselves to come to more of a calm and self-aware space before working with goddesses. And this will help in so many ways to be at that core beginning point of knowing oneself before trying to explore new and different ideals and understandings and complexities. To go hand in hand with this, people who have trouble discerning reality, people who have certain disorders or anything that makes them unsure of where they are, who they're interacting with on a daily basis, they should consider waiting to work with goddess energy until they are in a space of clarity. It is important, and extremely so, to understand and discern reality versus non-reality when beginning to work with goddesses, so that you know what you are hearing is from the divine and not from anywhere else or from yourself. And this helps to create a sense of understanding and calm in terms of what you are learning as a spiritual being, because you can feel the connection with the divine, with this deity, and understand the growth that is happening within you when you are on that clear knowledge of yourself. Also, people that are trying to work with goddesses in order to prove something, to have some kind of validity where they are trying to prove the existence of magic or the divine through working with a goddess, almost like a challenge or trying to see if magic is real. Those types of individuals may do best in study or different means of exploration, because goddess energy is very much a companionship that you are building, not a challenge, not a adversarial energy, but rather one that you are coming to as equals, to work with the divine in a sense of balance and equality. By understanding this being and learning about them, working with their energies, and also giving of your energy in return. So who should work with goddess energy? Those who want to grow spiritually, who are invested in their own growth as a human, as trying to be a better person, as one who wants to understand themselves deeper, and also go through these different myths and archetypes in order to understand their place in the world around them, other people, and trying to work with divine feminine energy to provide some kind of healing, nourishment, and clarity about who they are as a being. Also, people who want to connect with the divine and magic and witchcraft and history. There's a lot of history, myth, lore, and legend behind different deities, and so working with goddess energy can bring you an awareness of all those things in a way that you never have before when you're working so closely with a particular goddess who has walked those times. And also learning about healing and the cycles of nature. These are things that you discover when you walk the goddess path, as the goddess leads you to these things, opens up these doors, and provides just a wealth of all of this deep knowledge that you are given to advance your spiritual growth and development. How to get started. So when we are getting started working with a goddess, there's a lot of rules out there. There's a lot of misconceptions as well. And there's also just different opinions on how to do this. So if you are hearing things that challenge things that you have heard, consider opening to your mind to different perspectives. I am explaining from my own personal gnosis, as I have worked with goddess energy and can explain how that was for me, as well as to give some feedback and guidance. So firstly, deciding which goddess to work with. Now, when I was getting started, people would say, you can only work with a goddess if she has selected you. And one of those famous examples was Hecate or Hecate. People would say you can only work with her if she, reached out and selected you first, as that's her prerogative. You can't decide to work with her yourself. And people used to say that men couldn't work with her, for example. And through the years, as Hecate was the first goddess that I worked with, I have found these things not to be true. I did feel a calling from her. She did reach out to me through dreams and through symbols. Now, this is not true with everyone. I have met many different witches and practitioners who have worked with her, and they have decided they wanted to and began working with her. So when you are in this process of trying to figure out which goddess to begin with, I do recommend meditating on it to kind of check in with your own heart, your own place, and where you are right now in your life, and feeling what kind of goddess comes to you in that way within yourself. And so this doesn't need to be a goddess arriving and coming down through the ceiling into your room. This is more like you feeling an acknowledgement in your own body of something that you need in your practice right now as a spiritual person, as a witch, as a curious, magically interested person. And sitting with this understanding of who you are and the type of archetype, the type of goddess that is calling to you. And it may just be an image that pops into your mind, or a name. It may be that, like me, that you see some kind of symbols repeating and understand this to be the way that a deity is reaching out to you. You can yourself look online and look up images of different deities and see if one is really intriguing and powerfully affecting you just by looking at this image. And you can also just type in the name of a particular deity and research and go through each one until you find that feeling of connection, that yes, this is the one that feels right for me right now. And you don't have to stick with your choice, though I do recommend, especially when getting started, trying to learn as much as you can before deciding to move on to another deity, just because this will help you to get a better feeling and really understand an energy before saying that it's not something that you want to explore. But really trying to intuitively connect spiritually connect to a deity before working with them. It's not only about, looking at one and saying, well, this one looks cool, I want to work with this one. It's more about the energy that they bring and how that feels to you and what it could do for you. So for instance, just for example, if you are a very shy person that has, a vivid imagination but terrible boundaries, a goddess like Hecate, like Lilith, like Kali, could be helpful in bringing that side of you out so that you can be more empowered, stronger, and able to create firmer boundaries through this feeling of empowerment that you get from a particular being. So, likewise, if you are already a very outspoken, very fiery person, maybe you would like to explore your quieter inner self more, and a deity like Kuan Yin or Isis could be a good choice for that. Or you just want some more nurturing in your heart and you need that kind of softer side of the goddess energy. So that's why I say archetypally, it's good to figure out where you are and do a little self-analysis before getting started to see what part of myself do I want to explore further. What part of myself am I neglecting or pushing away or afraid of or not clear about? And then when you work with a particular goddess, she can help you to unlock these things, to explore, and to feel courageous and positive and powerful in that. And then once you start to get a handle on the type of goddess or the goddess that you want to work with, I do recommend going on a bit of a deep dive on the goddess. And this is not for everyone. Some people will just be happy working with the archetypal energy and knowing the basics about their goddess, which is absolutely fine. But the deeper that you dig and the more information that you gain on the goddess that you have selected, the more you're giving yourself room for this goddess to reach out to you through her symbols, through her colors, through her scents and her flowers, through her war cry, whatever it is. So doing the research gives you so much more to work with and to understand and to put into your own practice. And you can and should look up these correspondences of, where did this goddess originate? What time period were people examining this goddess and worshiping them? And what kinds of miraculous things did this goddess do? And what colors were they associated with? So these things can help. Also offerings, because it is a good way to connect to your goddess by leaving offerings. And I don't mean anything scary or anything strange. More so, you can light a candle, you can light an incense stick, you can provide a little dish of flowers, or any number of different methods. Or a food. So, for example, Persephone, if you're working with Persephone, you can leave or Hecate, you can leave a pomegranate. So there's lots of different ways that you can connect and work with this energy if you know about it and the specifics behind your particular choice goddess that you start with. I highly recommend meditation. I would recommend doing this in the very beginning when you first select your goddess, as well as through time, repeating this process and recording your thoughts in a journal. I value spiritual journals, and I use them to record these things. So I am a person that goes back and looks at my spiritual journals all the time and deepens my practice with my deity in a journal form. The reason is because you can see your progress throughout time with working with your deity and how you're interacting and where you are with them, and understand yourself so much deeper in those writings. But when you do these meditations or visualizations, it could be something as simple as walking through a forest with your eyes closed, of course, and just feeling everything in the forest as you walk. You can see the trees, you can see the sky, you can hear the birds chirping, and you keep walking until you feel the presence of a divine being. And this being is going to be your deity, your goddess. And as you approach this energy, you see the being appear to you, and you examine how they look, how they sound when they speak, and how they move, what they say, and write all of this down in your journal. And this is just an example, a very basic example of how you can visualize, connect with, understand, and meet your goddess after selecting them. So it's just a very easy way to get started, and also one that you can continue to develop and hone as you progress as a spiritual person on this journey. So please let me know if you have enjoyed this video, if it has been helpful to you in getting started with goddess work. I intend to eventually make more videos about goddesses, so please put any questions that you have in the comments, and I will either answer them or collect them for future videos. And if you would like to see me talk about specific goddesses, their background and the energies that they bring, or my personal gnosis. So I hope that you have enjoyed, and thank you for being here. Please don't forget to click the like button and subscribe to the channel, as this is a new channel and I'm hoping to get more content made and have more subscribers to be able to see this information. And I will see all of you very soon.